Yo. What's going on, everybody? We are back for another mock draft Monday. We missed last week because of the Pens playing on Monday. We just decided, what the heck? We don't need to do it if it's not on a Monday. We'd have to change the layout. The name wouldn't make sense. So, like we said, we're going to be doing this plenty of times leading up to the draft. So we skipped 1 week. Not that big of a deal. What are you guys going to do? Sue us? But we're back.
The Pens won on the day we skipped, too. So that made it even better. Although they didn't win where you were there, so.
No, and Evgeny Malkin got hurt, and Brandon Tanev got a BS penalty call. I mean, yeah, things just they didn't go right when I was there, which I feel like it's a running joke at this point that we knew it wasn't going to happen. So,
yeah, true.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, like you guys know the drill at this point. We're using Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator to do a full 7 rounds. I'm thinking for this week, based off the weeks that we've had leading up to this so far, let's try to be like as realistic as possible with the way things have played out so far.
Yeah, and with the signings this past
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, everything. So, like, Juju's back, Banner getting a 2-year deal, not just like a 1-year deal. I understand that it's a 2-year deal at the same time. It's structured like a deal that it's kind of a prove-it year this year. Maybe they would want to work out another extension before he even plays year 2. And I think you could say the same thing about Cam Sutton's contract as well. But, yeah, so Cam Sutton's back, Juju's back, Zach Banner's back. Joe Haig on the offensive line brought in another 2-year deal, by the way. So like he's like a swing guard tackle. We'll provide some depth there. Chris Wormley is back as well. And then special teams ace Miles Killebrew. So I mean, we can go based off that and maybe take that into consideration this week with making our picks, because I feel like this week, with the way that the previous weeks have looked, we should try to get one that's going to be like as accurate as possible. Now, I'm not saying we don't trade down or anything if it looks that way, but let's just play it by ear. So, without further ado, let me just get this rolling for you guys.
Before we start,
yeah,
I just wanted to say something, and this is directed at towards the Juju Smith-Schuster re-signing, because we didn't have like a Steelers show that come out, so I just wanted to say something on that. So for one, I'm really excited to have him back,
as you can see by the video that you posted.
Yeah, if you didn't go check out my TikTok dance. I was excited at work.
That did numbers, didn't it? Before you go any further, like that did numbers, I think.
Yeah, I mean it got like 400 something likes, like 50 retweets. It wasn't bad. It did better on Twitter than it did on TikTok.
You should have posted it from the Around the 412 one.
I was thinking that, and then I thought maybe Smitty just doesn't want this joke of a dance on our account.
Hey, no, I'm all for it. All right, but go ahead.
But so the only issue I have with this Juju signing has nothing to do with the actual signing. It has to do with the people that have an issue with it. And I can't believe that there's people in this town that, for one, seriously think that he did not have higher offers from other teams. That's a joke. I'm pretty sure that Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport know more than you guys do, especially when it comes to these free agent signings. And 2, I am okay. I'm not okay. I don't agree with the people that dislike Juju for these reasons, but like I'm okay. I can like rationalize if you don't like him for the TikTok or YouTube or his blue hair or whatever you want to say about it. I can at least understand it's I don't agree with it, but it's a reason that you have, whatever. But if your reason that you did not want Juju back is that you think that the team is a better team without him on the team than with him on the team, I think you're an idiot, because he is your number 1 receiver. I don't care what Deontay Johnson does. I don't care what Chase Claypool's potential is. Right now, he's your most reliable receiver. Whenever it's at the end of the games, he's the one that's fighting for yards, and it's not his fault that he is doing those little crossing routes. I mean, that's the play calling. He is the one that Ben is looking to. If you're going to you need someone to make a catch, I think Ben's going to throw it to Juju over a guy like Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron. I mean, he was the one that didn't have any catch issues last year compared to the rest of the guys. So I can't fathom how anybody thinks that the team is better without him on it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's not at all where I thought you were going. And but I'm happy that you said it, because then it like made me think about this point, and it's a good point to have going into this mock draft. Steven Nelson not going to be on the team next year. Whether he's traded or released in the coming days, one of those two things is happening. Like at this point, you can't put that out there. That information can't get out there, and then you go back from it. So within the coming days, Steven Nelson is not going to be part of this roster, and cornerback could be a direction that we go early. I mean, even just depending on how the board falls. I don't know what the idea is with Cam Sutton, if they'd rather have him inside or outside, but that could dictate, how we draft. So, but what I thought you were going to say was you want to hammer home the point that Juju coming back has nothing to do with the Steven Nelson thing, because Juju's cap hit next year. Yeah. Juju's cap hit next year right around $2 million. Steven Nelson do over $8 million. That's why they were deciding between Steven Nelson and Joe Hayden. One of those guys was not going to be on the roster next year. Maybe they approached Steven Nelson about an extension and weren't anywhere close on numbers. I don't know. For one reason or another, though, Steven Nelson is not going to be part of the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. Therefore, cornerback could make sense for us pretty early in the draft, or at least at some point. We're going to have to get a corner here.
Yeah, this past week has changed the draft needs significantly for the team.
Yeah. Okay, but let's get into it and let's just see how this falls. Not what I meant to do. Let's draft.
Have you ever done a draft where you pick for every single team?
Yeah, last year I did that a couple times. Just like when we would
like every round.
Yeah, when we were doing like our mock drafts and stuff like that with like Jake and those guys.
Yeah,
I did one just to see like where I did every round. So that was going to be interesting. I was going to say Caleb Farley. I don't know if you saw, he has to have like a minor procedure done that came out today.
I didn't see that. Actually,
and he's not going to compete. Let me just go through this real quick. No.
Also, for those of you watching that, why we're just hitting reject, we don't deal with future.
Wait, did I only do one? Did I accidentally just do one round?
I don't know.
It's not going to pass this, so I think I might have. Yeah, I might have to restart this because I'm not totally sure. I'm just going to restart it.
Restart it. Go for it.
If somebody in the comments can let me know if I'm an idiot or I'm an idiot, but
yeah. Zach Wilson, number 2.
Well, that already changed from what the last one was. Okay. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. Okay, Trey Lance to the Eagles. That would be interesting.
I really don't think that the Eagles are going to go quarterback round 1.
I don't either.
I think they're going to try to let Hurts take the reins for a little bit.
And that's what it sounds like. Like their owner said, let's go all in on Jalen Hurts this year. By the way, why is Kyle Pitts still on the board?
I mean, why wouldn't you go in all on Hurts? I mean, might as well.
There's Najee Harris at 14 to the Vikings. Okay, yeah, that makes sense with Dalvin Cook being there already.
That seems early.
It is. And I don't know, once again, why Kyle Pitts is still just sitting there. Okay, there you go.
There he goes.
And there's another guy that was falling, Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith
weighed in at 170, I believe.
Devontae Smith and Michael Pittman Jr. are going to play together.
Okay, see, we didn't even get like a good trade offer anyway, so that was pretty easy to reject all those.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're looking at this from the Steelers' perspective, again, taking into consideration what we've seen happen in free agency, do we want to do this as if like what we think is going to happen this week? Like, do we want to be really realistic with it? Because if I'm sitting here, it gets to pick 24, the Steelers, I'm looking right here. Travis Etienne is still on the board. They sent the house to Clemson's pro day. Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, Matt Canada, all there. If you know anything about the Steelers, that's pretty telling. They haven't drafted somebody in the first round that like they haven't sent the house to see for their pro day. So it's not going to happen. Like especially Colbert and Tomlin, if they weren't at somebody's pro day, that guy's not being taken in the first round. Mm-hmm. They obviously, if those three were at Clemson's pro day, yeah, there's some other like Amari Rodgers. They obviously wanted to see maybe Jackson Carman, the offensive tackle. But if those three guys are all there, they're there to see Travis Etienne.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I think you can just toss Rashad Bateman to the side right now. With Juju re-signing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If Juju were to have signed in Baltimore or anywhere else, and Rashad Bateman falls to this spot, for me personally, not that I think the Steelers would do it, but I would be very tempted to do that because I talked about it, maybe a little bit of a hot take. I have him as a top 3 receiver in this class.
Yeah, just with Juju signing, I don't see the need for the Steelers. I think you can make a case where you could go with one of the edge guys, but that's not where I see
There's no depth there right now. It's crazy because you have the starters, and like third on the depth chart right now is Christian Kuntz, who's not even an edge rusher.
Yeah, so I think that there's a chance they could do that, But I'm with you. Honestly, if I'm thinking this the way the Steelers are going to think, I would think they would either go Travis Etienne, like you said, or they look linebacker at Nick Bolton. Because I feel like that would be a very Steelers pick.
Yeah, Nick Bolton. Today the Steelers inside linebackers coach actually ran the drills at Missouri's pro day, so he had a very lengthy conversation with Nick Bolton and his agent, his family. He could be in play here. Personally, I'll be a little disappointed. I don't like Nick Bolton even as much as like Zaven Collins. Like if they were to go the linebacker route,
I think imagine Zaven Collins and Devin Bush together, how fast that would be.
I know. Yeah, and we've talked about it. Everybody should be trying to like emulate what Tampa Bay has with their linebackers, Devin White and Levante David. And it's just, that would be the Steelers' way of doing it. And I put out a tweet today, like nothing is off the board for me and what the Steelers are going to do. Like we can put out these mock drafts like we're doing right now. We can try to predict what's going to happen. We really have no idea. The Steelers could go any direction on draft day, and don't be surprised by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if I'm looking at this right now, I think the top 3 that the Steelers could possibly pick in this spot. Oh, and I should mention too, how about, did you see that Trevon Moehrig out of TCU, they've met with him multiple times and they're set to meet with him again, the Steelers,
really?
The safety. Maybe they see him as like, keep Sutton outside and they see him as like in that slot role for them.
Maybe, but would you want to take him at 24?
See, that's the thing. That seems just like such a luxury pick to me.
And I don't think the Steelers they're not in a position to make luxury picks.
Right.
So
I wasn't even going to say him, though. As I was scrolling down, I just, he caught my eye because I was going to say Travis Etienne, Nick Bolton, and then, of course, we mentioned corner Ifeatu Melifonwu, which I don't even know if I said that right, but I just tried my best. So he just seems like a Steelers corner to me. And if we're talking they want to keep Sutton inside, like if he's literally there to replace Mike Hilton's role as the slot corner, which that's not, a 1-to-1 comparison. Those guys are very different as players. But just say that's what the Steelers envision, and they're looking for another outside corner early. I think he is in play.
Yeah, I was actually talking at work, and I don't know, maybe you'll agree with this, but my boss and I were talking about Hilton Sutton and comparing the two. And he said, if I could pick one, which one would I keep? And I said, I think I would keep Sutton just because I feel like he is more versatile at more positions in the defense, but Hilton is elite at his position. He's better at what he does, which is a slot corner, playing up along the line of scrimmage, that sort of stuff. But Sutton is better, like overall, being able to play outside, inside, dime backer, a little safety if you need to. So that's why I would say that. But for this draft, if we're going really realistic, I'm with you. I think Travis Etienne is a pick that the Steelers would make, especially like you said, sending the house to Clemson. And what do you think of people saying, I've seen a few people say this, that Travis Etienne is more of a system running back, that he's not as good as he shows just because of the talent that was around him at Clemson.
I don't know if I can get on board with that. I think that honestly, I don't think he's reached his full potential. And the thing that like everybody's going to knock him for, obviously, like his pass pro needs to improve, and that's what might keep him from being on the field for all 3 downs early in his career. But if that's the case, he's going to be a very good first and second down back. And the only reason that I'd be hesitant is I don't think we have somebody that's very good in pass pro on the roster right now. So adding another running back that isn't good in that area, that I'm kind of like weary on that. But I think Travis Etienne, if he is a system running back, at least we know like he looks like he's going to be very good in Matt Canada's system. I feel like that's a very good transition for him to make. Like, could he go somewhere else and have that same level of success? I don't know. But I like him in Matt Canada's system. Now, don't get me wrong. I would not go running back with this pick. Again, if we're just trying to be realistic about it, this is where signs point to going, especially if Najee Harris is already off the board. And again, we can't stress it enough. They sent the house to Clemson's pro day. It was for Travis Etienne.
Yeah. Jake in the comments certainly wouldn't be a system running back argument. That's a weird one. Yeah, I've only seen a couple people say something along those lines. And I think they were just saying with the talent that he had around him on Clemson's offensive line, the receivers that they have, having Trevor Lawrence, it was easy for him to be able to do the things that he was doing. But still, I think even with the talent that was around him, you're able to see the plays that he's able to make like one-on-one on his own. So
how many players can you say that for, though? I mean, around the country, but especially at like these elite programs. Like, how many guys at Alabama
at running
can you
back
try to make that argument for?
Or
At any position. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a ton of people that make it for Mac Jones.
I know. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't be somebody that makes that argument. I would just make the argument that his game doesn't translate to where the NFL is trending. I'm not going to knock him for the talent that is surrounding him.
Yeah, no, I mean, you still have to make the throw.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, a lot of the throws were easier, but you still have to make them.
Okay, so do we know Travis Etienne here? I mean, we're not getting...
I mean, we've been talking about it for multiple minutes. So
now the reason I'll bring up corner, and we'll see if this guy falls. Asante Samuel Jr. would be interesting if he falls to 55, just because FSU pro day today, and again, essentially them sending the house. Defensive backs coach Tomlin and Colbert all in attendance. I mean, that to me, they're there to see Asante Samuel Jr. Obviously, I'm interested to see if he were to fall. Okay, well, he just went to 33. Never mind. We can stop having that conversation. He's not going to fall to 55, I don't think. He actually had a pretty good showing today. But if he were to, that'd be very interesting. And, I mean, you'd think center is going to be a position we have to look at, too. Like,
J.C. Hassenauer is our center. Or no, actually, no. We don't have J.C. Hassenauer. It would be B.J. Finney.
I would think B.J. Finney would open up. Granted, you could make the argument those two are going to have a competition.
That's another guy I forgot that we signed back.
Yeah, I think B.J. Finney would win that competition if there were to be one. I mean, do you feel comfortable with that going into the season, though?
If it's how B.J. Finney has played in the past on the Steelers, then I'd feel comfortable at first. I'd literally have to see how he plays, though. I'd still want to take a center in this draft. Don't get me wrong. Like, if I have the opportunity to take one of the top 4 centers, I'm going to do it if I can. 2022 pick, get out of here. Okay, 60 and 105.
This is interesting. I mean, let's see what the board looks like, though. So we know what we feel like our needs. Running back, we got one. So we're good there. Travis Etienne has been added to the running back room. I think you still look at center. I understand. Like, do you think that the Steelers are thinking tackle at all, though?
Honestly, no.
You don't think it's on their radar whatsoever, or just like early?
Early. Like, if they're going to take one, maybe they take one like round 4 or further back, but I don't think
you're going to see one. Guy.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see one in the top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think that like the idea of one being like a plug and play guy, that's not even something that they're considering at this point.
Yeah, I think especially with bringing Banner back, they got Chooks. I mean, I'm happy that they didn't bring Al back, at least not yet.
Yeah.
But did you see that the Steelers were talking to Landon Dickerson?
Yeah. So again, that's something we should bring up. But let's look at center. So Dickerson is there. Obviously, you have the injury concern with him, season-ending injuries in 4 of his 5 seasons. Josh Myers, Quinn Miners to me is higher than the 93rd ranked player in this class. So center would make sense. We're not even going to look at this. We're not even looking at that. I mean, I looked at it, but we're not thinking about it.
Davis Mills, let's go.
Tight end could make sense. This is a little early.
There's your boy, Brevin Jordan.
Yeah, it is. And I wouldn't mind if they did that, but I don't see it as a possibility. And then switching to the defensive side of the ball, we mentioned they need edge. The value's not really there right now. Linebacker, do they consider, a coverage linebacker? Like, they're meeting with these linebackers. Obviously, the interest is there. Whether, their plan is going into the season right now, Bush and Spillane, I feel like there's enough interest where they're not opposed to upgrading that and having Spillane just as like a rotational guy.
Yeah, I think that they're going to take a linebacker in the first 4 rounds. I don't know which round it's going to be, but I think that they're with them releasing Vince Williams. Obviously, we saw Spillane do well last year, and I think you can rely on him. But I don't think that
we haven't seen him and Bush together either.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think they want to put too much pressure on Spillane to perform well. And I think that they want to be able to have at least some depth at linebacker because, again, like we saw last year, like once like Spillane got hurt as well, like the run defense with the linebackers just wasn't good.
Yeah. Marcus Allen, credit to him for making that transition, and he's okay in coverage, but man, he just gets beat up in the run game, and it's as expected. I mean, he's just too small to be there. So, and then the other thing that I think, let's look at the corners, because Elijah Molden would make a ton of sense here.
That's your boy.
Yeah, that's my guy. I think that he would be the guy to come in right away and step in and play in that slot, and you can keep Cam Sutton outside. In my opinion, for me personally, Elijah Molden's the best player in this class in terms of a slot defender.
Okay, so how about the pick is for pick 60?
Yeah, we have this 60 and 105 for 55.
60, 105, and then we have 87.
Yeah, true.
So what if we accepted this trade and hope Elijah Molden is there at 60? We take him at 60, and then we take one of either Myers or Miners at 87.
Hopefully
if one of them you roll the dice and see if one of them is there.
Yeah. And again, I think we should mention, just as keep in your mind here when it comes to Steelers' interest in them, Steelers' offensive line coach was the one like running drills for Quinn Miners when they were looking at him. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. In the real draft, mock drafts are obviously like not realistic. Well, they're somewhat, but not fully. But in the real draft, I don't think Miners is what do they have him in this one? The 93rd best player?
Yeah.
I don't think that he'll fall that far, but at least in this mock draft, if he's right there, I think there's a chance we could get him at 87. Or you hope for that at least one of those two are there. So I think we accept this trade, and then
I'm on board with accepting this trade for sure. It's just we are taking a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, I think we basically we roll the dice and hope Elijah Molden's there in 5 picks, and then hope Miners is there at 87.
Okay. Watch them take Molden. They moved up.
Also, Ricky said Dickerson, but we've talked about Dickerson before, and we're a little concerned with the health issues.
Yeah, like if someone were to tell, like I've seen people rank him as the top center above Creed Humphrey. Also seen, people have him as like pretty much everybody has him as like 1 or 2 with him and Creed Humphrey. But if someone were to tell me he's their number 4 center, even behind Josh Myers and Quinn Miners, because of the injury concern, like I get that. Like the tape's very good. I mean, he's probably the smartest of those 4 just with his football IQ. But that's a legit concern when 4 out of 5 seasons have ended because of a season-ending injury.
Right.
Like, it's a legit concern. Okay, reject this and reject that. Future picks involved. So Dickerson still is here. But the route that we were looking at here, Elijah Molden is still here as well. See, the reason that I like behind Molden, like Stokes and Campbell, the guys out of Georgia, I like a little bit, but those guys are both playing the outside. So you talked about Sutton playing inside. Would you rather? So if Sutton is going to strictly be in one role, would you rather have it inside or outside?
Outside. I think he can. I think he will be at his best potential on the outside.
Well, also, if you're looking at it like this, and it's the reason that I've thought about, like, I put that article out, right, where I talked about like how important he is for short term, but even looking long term as well, because Joe Hayden is in the last year of his contract. So you have to figure after next year at the latest, Cam Sutton is going to have to be a staple on the boundary. So why not just make it next year and look to replace Mike Hilton in the slot with somebody else?
Yeah.
And Cam Sutton takes Steven Nelson's role.
Yeah, get a head start on it.
So I'm fully on board with Elijah Molden at this pick.
Yeah, and he's still there, so that's our guy, I think.
And I think, like I said, I think he steps in day one and is one of the best slot defenders in the NFL. That's how high I am on this kid. Like, I would take him like first round, borderline first round. I think he's a top 40 guy.
So you think he's too low?
If he went in the first round, I wouldn't have a question about it because I would understand why that team wanted that 5th-year option.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are that high on a player, if you feel like they're a borderline first rounder, take them in the first round because you get that 5th-year option on them. Let's see. Okay, for some reason Dickerson's still there, so this is looking good for us trying to get a center at. Oh, but Josh Myers went.
Eric Stokes went to the Ravens, by the way.
Okay. Ooh, hopefully nobody else is going to do a center here. Javonte Williams just went at 77. Oh, nope. Okay.
Our plan is foiled.
Yeah, I mean now we don't go center with the next pick, that's for sure. But there's still a couple other guys here that I'd be fine with.
My boy Jimmy Morrissey, 191.
See, where's 178 even at? Is that a 5th round? Yeah. And that's like later in round 5 too. I don't really care for this offer, to be honest with you. Just because there's not like, if I'm looking at the board here and I'm looking at our needs that we would bring up, like we brought up edge, so Quincy Roche out of Miami could make sense. If we wanted a linebacker, Jamin Davis out of Kentucky, I've already talked about him before. Deontay Smith would be that developmental tackle that we've talked about in the past.
He was good down in Mobile.
Cameron McGrone, I think, is actually a better player than this. The Steelers have met with Peyton Turner a couple times. So I'm not. I think that we stay here and reject that trade offer. It is somewhat tempting to only move back 5 spots and regain, get an extra pick. But yeah. I'm just. I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid that like these guys could go. The guys that we're thinking about here. Okay, so I mean, where were you thinking, just off the top of your head?
As much as I'd like to take a tackle for the future, and I think Deontay Smith is a good tackle project for the future, I think that you need to look at either edge or linebacker with this pick, with Jamin Davis or Quincy Roche, because I think those are just bigger needs, especially with the signing of Zach Banner. There's not, like we said, there's not much depth behind really either of those positions after the starters. So I think you just look at those two and you pick one of them.
And I think once you narrow it down to those two, you look at like the lack of depth and realize, even though like linebacker's thin, there's nothing at edge right now.
Yeah, there's literally TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and me. That's basically what they have.
Yeah, if one of those guys go down, your phone might be ringing. So,
hey, I was a defensive end in high school, so
I think this is where we go.
Give me a ring.
I think a little bit of value there too. I don't know where the consensus has him. He fell a little bit further than I would have thought in this one, though. Where are you at with? Do you even think about adding a receiver now?
So, I was thinking if Juju left, you have to take a receiver within the first 4 rounds. And now, you got Juju, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, James Washington still. I mean, I'm going to throw Eric Ebron just because he's a tight end, but he's here for the receiving aspect of his game. With all those guys coming back, I think you don't look at taking a receiver until round 4 or later, probably later. I think there's just too many needs that you don't look at a receiver until like the 5th round, unless there's like a receiver that's like the value is insanely high. I just don't look at taking one until like round 5 or 6, 7, something like that.
I'm 100% on board with Nick here too. I don't know if you see his comment. Tight end would be in play here too. I think he actually said that for the last pick. But now we're on the board here again, and I know this is his guy. By the way, I don't think we can take this offer because of what I'm thinking in my head, but I won't reject it yet. I'll just make it disappear. Tommy Tremble still here from Notre Dame, and I think what we just said about edge for the Steelers, there being nothing behind the starters, copy and paste that to the tight ends. Behind Eric Ebron, the cabinet's bare. You know, short term and long term, the tight end position needs to be addressed. I think Tommy Tremble out of Notre Dame does that for you. I think right away he's the best blocker in that room. And there's a little bit of receiving element to his game as well. But I think this is a great spot for him. I don't know where you're at with him as a player or the value being here, but if this is where we want to go, if you see that drop off at the tight end position, and I do like Trey McKitty as well, but if we don't take Tommy Tremble, we're waiting longer on the tight end, and I would like to see the Steelers address tight end in the first 4 rounds.
No, yeah, I would like that pick too. I think Tommy Tremble is like, there's obviously like different tiers of each position. Like for tight end, for example, you've got Kyle Pitts, and then you have another tier that has like a few players, and then you got another tier. I mean, you can see it in the rankings. Like there's a huge drop off from like 113 to 183. Now, granted, I like Trey McKitty better than the 183rd best player, more than that. But I think if you're going to take a tight end, you should take it now because you don't want to wait. Because I mean, the Steelers have 141, and then you don't have another pick until 217.
Well, we have 128 still.
Oh, did we trade for? Oh, yeah.
We acquired 105 in that trade, but we didn't give up, any further future picks. So
yeah. Well, I guess I'm just thinking, like, are you going to take a guy like Trey McKitty? I mean, granted, if that's your guy, that's your guy. But are you going to take him that early compared to where he's slotted at?
Yeah, I feel like where he is slotted, this is kind of a gamble because, like, I think I would probably be just re-saying what you just said, but for everything you just said, now that I'm pulling up the draft picks, yeah, it's like, do you take him at 140 or hope he falls to 216? It's like, it feels like it's either a reach or a prayer that he drops, and we saw how that prayer with the center position went for us.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple guys at tight end that I would consider taking, like in the 200s pick, like at 216 or 245, just as a, like, I'm biased for sure, but I would look at taking Matt Bushman and taking a flyer on him with a late pick. He did have the Achilles injury, but I saw what he was at BYU, and I watched him for years. So, but
yeah, I think honestly, looking at this list, he would probably be like my 3rd or 4th tight end option. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I think Tommy Tremble is the pick here, is because it's paper thin.
Yeah, I think it's the smartest play.
Okay, so we're going there. I know Nick should be happy about that one. Okay, so Jacksonville took Trevor Lawrence at 1-1 and then Davis Mills at pick 106 as well. Hey, whatever. We saw Washington did that with RG3 at 2 and then Kirk Cousins in the 4th.
And that worked out for them. Kind of. Kirk Cousins still kind of mediocre, but at least they had a backup.
But they need Kirk Cousins outplayed, what RG3 did in Washington for sure. And I get, the injuries and everything like that. RG3's play style wasn't built to last that late. But he was just ahead of his time, I think. Imagine him coming into the league now.
Yeah. Well, if he never had the knee injuries, how do you think his career plays out?
That's such a tough question. That's such a tough question.
Yeah.
I mean,
granted, he did, like you said, he basically came into the league 10 years too early.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't want to say, Lamar Jackson. Like, that'd be the easy cop-out answer.
No, but, like, do you think he would have been, like, a lot more successful than he was?
Yeah.
If his knees never blew out.
I think, yeah. Not like just for, like, the durability
he would have been
standpoint.
But do you think he would have been one of the better starters?
Yeah, I feel like he'd be very good. I feel like, again, though, people would probably knock him for what he did with his arm and like try to say that it was all because of his legs, how good he was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lamar Jackson's basically a running back, so
this trade, I'm pretty intrigued by this. When they go back 2 spots and that pick 254,
and you move up like 80 spots.
Yeah, that's like the 3rd to last pick of the draft or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a guy that we want to take,
which I don't think there is. So, okay, yeah, I'm going to take this.
Yeah, it makes too much sense.
Here are a couple picks. By the way, Brady Christensen almost fell to that point, and that would have been interesting.
That's one of my guys.
Yeah. As far as if you're looking for a developmental tackle. Okay, so here at 130, do we finally go center? I mean, Trey Hill's they're out of Georgia. That kind of lines up with the value. And just when you talk about pro day, he said he's had conversations with the Steelers, watched a lot of Pouncey, kind of molds his game after him. I mean, he feels like he could potentially be a Steeler.
Jake likes Brady Christensen. Yeah, me too, Jake. He's a BYU guy. Yeah, I think you could look at center here. I don't what positions of defense are there that are right now. I mean, we haven't taken linebacker. You have Monty Rice, but honestly, centers like you need the depth behind linebacker, but I feel like you definitely need the depth at center more so.
I like some of the safeties that are there as well, but this isn't. Yeah, I would go center before there. Obviously, that's again, getting back to that whole luxury pick thing that I've been throwing around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trey Hill I think makes the most sense here because I mean, not that I don't think BJ Finney could do the job or couldn't do the job. It's just you don't want to have that as your only safety net really because I'll be honest, JC Hassenhauer just doesn't do anything for me. So honestly, if BJ Finney goes down, then there's just a huge hole at center.
I think Trey Hill could, if they let it be an open competition, excuse me, I think that he would probably beat out Finney.
Probably.
Although I know that the Steelers, like we saw it this year with Dodson, like they definitely want their veterans to play. But also anybody that's interested, Rock the Block, all new Mondays, 9:00 on HGTV. But yeah, I think
I don't even know what that is.
Me either.
Like they're not paying us to say that.
I know. You know what's funny is I was messing around with an overlay that like would block that, but it just looks so bad.
Dodge.
It just switched to. His fit in Green Bay makes too much sense. You just want everybody in Green Bay, Jake. We know it.
It's because they've just lost a BYU player in Jamal Williams, so they have to get another one.
True. You can't have less than one.
Unless you're the Steelers, which is why
the Steelers need to add one this year.
Listen, I'm trying to think. Since Chris Hoke, they have never had a BYU player since. So I need it.
Okay, so we're here at pick 140. You're seeing that name at the top of the board right now.
No.
It's been a popular. No, I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying if we're trying to be like as realistic as possible.
I guess for this draft, we have been more realistic than what we would normally do.
Yeah.
I mean, we took Travis Etienne at 24. I know neither of us would have made that pick.
No.
I mean, do you consider moving back 7 spots and jumping up 50?
I mean, I do because I want to get rid of as many of those that are in 7th round as possible.
Then I would say do it because we're looking at the total players, and unless you're totally in love with somebody, I don't think it would make sense.
So from a standpoint of like moving back,
don't do it. LOL. Sorry, Ken. Also, I hope you get.
I think that was for the Trask. I think that was for the Trask thing.
Oh no, yeah. Don't do it. He's.
Okay, he went. What? Wait, Jacksonville just took their 3rd quarterback. Jacksonville has taken their 3rd quarterback in this draft. Look at this. Lawrence, Mills, Trask.
Man, they're really making sure that they have backup in case Lawrence sucks.
Yeah. They're going with a youth movement for that entire QB. Didn't they bring somebody else in, though? Don't they already have – I mean, throw aside the fact that Gardner Minshew's still there anyway, but because they might move on from him. But
yeah, how do you think he feels? He knows that they're going to take Trevor Lawrence.
That's tough, man. I mean, what a rookie year. And then –
mediocre last year.
Yeah, but it's like he got hurt. He really never even had the chance, but it was just once they had the first overall pick. So. Yeah, and once they got pick number 1, it wasn't even like a question. It's like, okay, Gardner Minshew's out.
I'm sick of seeing some Ohio State people, and this is just like fans in general, talking about the possibility of them taking Justin Fields at number 1 just because Urban Meyer's the head coach. That's not a possibility. It's not going to happen.
Never coached him.
Quit trying to talk it into existence because it's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what Jacksonville is doing in this mock draft, by the way, but this obviously isn't going to happen. But how hilarious would it be if somebody put this out there for their mock draft? Like if we were putting out the results for every team for people to see,
and we put like imagine if we took 3 quarterbacks. we take Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, and
Jamie Newman.
Yeah.
Kellen Mond. Yeah, I don't know, one of those guys. Okay, so what are we thinking here? I mean, here's what we've got so far. We got a running back, we got a slot corner, we got some edge help, we got a tight end, we got a center.
I guess look at linebackers. I mean,
defensive tackles in play. They did bring Chris Wormley back, but he's not traditional there. Twyman's a little undersized for that. Had a terrible pro day.
Besides bench press, that's literally it.
Yeah, I think it could fall further to this spot right here. David Moore. I love David Moore. I have no idea. I am not on board with this particular ranking at all. And think about it. Think about like an offensive line with him and Kevin Dotson.
That'd be pretty good.
And he was also doing some snapping. Like maybe he's the center. You know, if Trey Hill doesn't work out.
So,
and I think you could even make the case here for Marvin Wilson's another guy too, defensive tackle who, I mean, what a fall from grace over the last 12 months he's had. But even like, I know we took an edge guy already, but like Dalen Hayes, who met with the Steelers a couple times, even if you're including now the fact that we went edge earlier, like they could double dip there because of how limited they still are. Yeah. So I think that those are the potential options here. I don't see the Steelers' value in defensive tackle. Like I don't see Twyman or Marvin Wilson as a possibility here. I think for me, it would come down to David Moore or, double dipping at edge with Dalen Hayes. And what I will say is, as far as edge goes, there's actually a guy that I like later on. I don't know why he's so far down. I've talked about him multiple times. We've taken him in multiple mocks. Chris Rump, the second out of Duke, just seems like a Steeler to me. Like wears multiple hats for that Duke defense, played inside and outside. He's the son of a coach. He fits that mold for me. So I wouldn't be opposed if this were me personally. And again, I know that we're trying to go with like, what are the Steelers going to do? David Moore would be the pick here for me personally.
I think so too, because when I'm looking at the two positions, we already took an edge, and not that we couldn't take another one. It's that when you look at the guard position for the Steelers, you have, and I guess BJ Finney could step in and be a guard. I guess if someone went down, but besides DeCastro and Kevin Dotson,
free agent after this year.
He's a free agent. We don't know what his health is going to be like next year. We're hoping that he was just struggling with an injury at the end of last year, and it's not going to continue that way. But say it does, there's really not much behind the guard at the guard position. So I think it makes more sense to shore up that offensive line and take a guard here.
And again, he played some center, at the Senior Bowl and stuff. So, like, I know that we took Trey Hill already, but you can never have enough depth. It really comes down to like, how do they view Haig as well? Like, is he going to be like a backup guard or more of a backup tackle? Probably both, but like, which one do they view him more as? Like, Are they really going to address offensive line with, as many picks as we're going to here? I don't know, but I think that that's where I'd go.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think they're going to at least address center. I feel like that's pretty obvious that's the one that's
they have to do that. Probably earlier than we took one, but
I feel like at this point, based off this past week, guard is more in play for the Steelers. They're more likely to be taken before tackle at this point.
I think that's fair to say. Especially if they're not addressing it earlier. Like, interior offensive linemen seem to fall down more because people don't value them as high. Like, that's why a guy like Kevin Dotson fell last year. It's going to be hard to get a tackle in that slot. Whereas, like, you could get a really good guard like to David Moore, or like I said, going back to last year and Kevin Dotson. You're not going to find that value at tackle, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so. And as much as I'd love for them to still take like a tackle day one or day two, I just don't see it happening. And if you're for sure starting Banner and Chooks at your tackles, there's other positions like corner, linebacker, edge, I mean, obviously throw in running back because we know they're going to take a running back. Center. There's 5 positions right there that are more need than tackle if you already have your 2 starters planned out for next season.
So we're on the board here again. So this is what we got so far: running back, slot, edge, tight end, center, guard, maybe a center as well. David Moore. We still haven't taken a receiver, but like with Juju coming back, that kind of changes everything. Although it is just for this year. James Washington is just this year, and then he's a free agent. Like I don't think that it's out of the realm of possible. Ray McLeod's back on just 1-year deal.
Here's my idea, and I know that the Steelers are going to have a lot of.
I know what you're going to say. I think.
Yeah, you probably do. The Steelers have a lot of free agents next year, that they'd have to re-sign. However, I think the cap is not going to be as bad next year, obviously, and I think just football in general is going to be in a better position that they're going to have more money to be able to throw around at people. So if I'm the Steelers next year and you have Juju Smith-Schuster and James Washington coming off the books, I'm trying to re-sign Juju and I'm moving on from James Washington and looking to draft another receiver in the draft.
So do you like? Oh, are you saying what you would do or what you think they're going to do? Because they seem to add a wide receiver at some point every year. So I didn't know if you were saying you think this is finally the year that doesn't happen.
Oh no, I think they'll add one, but like I said, I just don't think it's as much of a concern this year. Like normally, if they pick a receiver, it's in the first typically it's in the first 2 days that they take a receiver. At least the past like three or four receivers that they've taken has been in the first 2 days. I don't think they're going to take a receiver until day 3 now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at these 2 guys specifically right here, Anthony Schwartz and Tamorrion Terry. I think that those are like Schwartz. We know the Steelers' interest in him has been pretty well documented up to this point. Probably the fastest wide receiver coming out of this class. When you look at the picks that we have left, would he fall to 216 though? Or did we just try to get him at 195? But I definitely don't think it's at this pick. I think if we're trying to make this the most realistic as possible, it's kind of a combination of what we would do, but also trying to tie that in with realism. Yeah. I think that we wait on a receiver for at least one more pick. And it just comes down to, again, do we want to do we go Darius Stills, a little bit of an undersized defensive tackle? He says, everybody wants to be Aaron Donald, a defensive tackle, but that's who he watches. That's who he molds his game after. Similar body type. Like I said, a little bit of an undersized guy. Or do we double dip at edge, William Bradley King, or do we go with a linebacker? We haven't added a linebacker yet. Garrett Wallow out of TCU, who a lot of people have said just seems to fit that Steeler mold. I think Nick, if he's still even in here, I believe he was one of the people that said that.
Yeah, I think probably right now I'm looking at linebacker over edge just because I know, like you said earlier, Chris Rumph is down there and he would make sense for the Steelers.
If they double dip at edge, yeah.
Yeah, so if you want to do that, I think you can still wait on that a little bit. And receiver, it's just not as much of a need as linebacker. So yeah, I think that's what the position you got to look at. And for linebacker or wide receivers this year, the whole time that we've been making these mock drafts, we've been looking at receivers to replace Juju. And now we can pretty much look at the entire board of receivers because we don't have to only look for slot guys.
Yeah, there's times where we've passed up, maybe a better receiver just because they were just fit to play outside, not necessarily fill that slot role that Juju would be leaving behind. With Juju back in the fold, now it's not really like a guy that we need to play right away in that role. It's more so like a long-term project that we're looking forward to. Like again, Anthony Schwartz, who I think, could just start out as like a gadget guy, maybe help out on special teams or whatever. Like just getting him into the fold for year 1, not a red shirt year by any means, but he can just be eased in where he doesn't have to start right away. Whereas if Juju leaves, I think they would have needed like an immediate starter in that slot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's for me, you got to look linebacker here. I just think it's a more position of need than wide receiver.
Yeah. And I'm on board with that too. So we go Garrett Wallow there. Now I think the next 2 picks, if the board falls the way that I'm hoping, we don't even have to have much of a discussion. We've just had it leading up to these picks.
We take a wide receiver next, and then we take Chris Rumph last if we can.
Yeah, I think that's the ideal scenario here is Schwartz or Tamorrion Terry here, and then Chris Rumph at what is it, 2? What's our last pick?
220?
220? Okay.
Did we trade 216? I mean, I know we have 216, but I don't know if we traded it. Or maybe Rumph is ranked 220 and we have 216. I don't know.
Once Colbert retires, what do you think? You want to like duo as general manager for the Steelers? That's what one of the comments just said.
Honestly,
How do they?
I think we
Are we
could
gonna
do it.
be? Are we gonna have those titles as co-GM, or are we paid the exact same?
I would take I would take less than you.
Okay, that's very that's pretty humble of you to do.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would
feel like
take
you did. Anthony Schwartz just went to the Bengals. Oh man.
There's still Tamori and Terry.
I know. Who, I mean, his measurables were sick. He looks this guy. People have said he's like potentially like he fits that Martavis Bryant mold.
Whoa, Dax Milne went up a lot in the rankings compared to what he was like 300.
Yeah, he was like
something.
300s. Yeah. Let me just look at the overall board though. Florida State, who's pro day too. Janarius Robinson. I know Nick.
Trey McKitty's still there.
Yeah. Janarius Robinson had a nice pro day, by the way. Man, that really stinks, especially to the Cincinnati Bengals. Like what? All right. I think that we stick with the plan. Tamori and Terry here, and is he still there? Yeah. Chris Rumpf is there, and our last pick is 216.
Yep.
That one hurts. They must have. I mean, everybody knows how well the Steelers draft receivers. They must have gotten wind of how much they like Anthony Schwartz and couldn't let him fall to them.
Yep. Must have been listening to us.
Trey McKitty all the way to 201. By the way, I mean, waiting until we pick now, we have a little bit of time since we have this running on slow. Like, what do you make of this whole Steven Nelson situation?
Dude, I genuinely was
we definitely
shocked.
didn't see it coming. Like, we never mentioned
shocked.
this once.
If there was going to be a corner that goes, we all thought it could be Joe Hayden. But never once did we ever think that Steven Nelson was even a possibility. And the fact that it's not even like that he was just going to be cut as a cap casualty. Like they gave him permission to seek a trade. Like that's just so weird to me. Like it's such like weird timing with the Juju signing. Everybody's going to relate it to that, even though they're probably unrelated. And I just think that it basically shifts a lot of the focus. Like, okay, what's happening with Steven Nelson, but I think the Steelers have to prepare as if they're not going to have him on the team next year and be looking in the draft that way.
Yeah, that can't be made public knowledge and then you come back from it. Like, there's no way he's going to be on the roster next year one way or the other. And at the same time, when that happens, how often does a trade actually develop? Like, I feel like he's going to end up being released here in the coming days.
I just don't get it. Like, how did we get to this point? That's what I want to know.
They probably, like I said, I don't want to, throw either side under the bus and like try to speculate on what it was. However, from the outside looking in, the only reason that I could see this being a possibility was they approached him about an extension to try to lower his cap number this year, and we're nowhere close on the numbers. I mean, he's a free agent after this year. He's probably going to be looking to get paid as, a top 10 to 15 corner in the league.
So why would he – I just don't get like why he would want to seek a trade instead of just playing out the year and then enter free agency.
Maybe he was just put off by the number that the Steelers were coming at him with. I don't know.
Maybe. Also, Jake said Tamori and Terry will now make a Pro Bowl because Pittsburgh drafted him. You're not wrong.
So what Steelers wide receiver? One of them didn't make the Pro Bowl last year.
Also, was that a 6th round receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe another AB.
Oh man.
Hopefully not the attitude, but I'll take the stats.
Well, if he has those types of stats, it will probably lead to him having an attitude. It's how wide receivers are. Short shelf life.
Did you take Chris Rumpf? I didn't even notice that you made a pick.
Yeah, we just kept having the conversation. I just pulled the trigger on it because I felt like it was already set in stone. That's what we were doing if it happened. Okay, so just to wrap it up,
This is our
let's go
quote
through these.
unquote realistic draft.
Yeah, we're looking at it just through what they've done through free agency and such, and just speculating that Steven Nelson won't be part of the team next year. Which, I mean, we could say speculation, but it's not going to happen. He's not going to be with the Steelers next year. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, whether it be release or trade, but one of those two things is going to happen. So this is we don't have a running back yet, so we're going to add one for sure. They sent the house to Clemson. Travis Etienne makes too much sense. It's not what we would do, but it's likely what the Steelers would do if things fell that way. Elijah Molden, who, like I said, I think would step in day one and be an elite slot player in this league. So love that. That's probably my favorite pick of the ones that we made between that and the Tommy Tremble pick. Quincy Roche out of Miami. I like that pick. Again, I think that it's, whoops, I actually just pressed home. Let me go back. Nope, can't do it.
Oh my gosh.
This will test our memories. So
well, there's an easy way to find it for me. But
Etienne. Okay, well, don't tell me. I want to see if I can go back through this. Travis Etienne, Elijah Molden, Quincy Roche, Tommy Tremble. Was it Trey Hill after that?
Yes.
David Moore.
Uh-huh.
Garrett Wallow.
Yeah, we took linebacker.
And then
Tamorian Terry.
Tamorian Terry,
Chris Rumpf.
Chris Rumpf. There it is.
Very
Who
good.
needs that?
Well, I was thinking, I was scrolling back. I'm looking on Discord for what our draft was last week. Last time we did it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see. Why can't I find it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so our first round picks, or not first round picks necessarily because we traded back, but our first picks have been Zaven Collins, Zach Wilson, and who was our third one in our third draft?
We moved back quite a bit, right? Alex Leatherwood?
Yeah, it was. So I
think we moved back in like the 40s.
Yeah, we did.
And he was there. Yeah.
But I would say, so Zaven Collins, Zach Wilson, Alex Leatherwood, and Travis Etienne. I would say that this is probably the most realistic pick, at least first pick that we've made for based off what the Steelers will do.
Yeah, I don't see them sliding all the way back to 40.
I mean, maybe they trade back into the 30s, but I think if either one of like Najee Harris or Etienne is there, I think they're probably going to take one of those two.
I remember a couple weeks ago, too, it seemed like the Steelers brass actually had a preference of Javonte Williams over Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne might be their RB1 now. I'm not sure. Like, Najee Harris probably, like, everybody's saying he fits what the Steelers want. He fits that Steeler mold. He's the perfect back for them. But, like, and I know that Alabama hasn't had their pro day yet, right? Is it tomorrow?
It's this week, but they haven't had it yet. I don't know. It might be tomorrow.
So maybe the next time we have a mock draft Monday, it looks very different. Like, we're going to find out some more information, obviously, when the Steelers send their people to the Alabama Pro Day, and we'll go from there. But it wouldn't surprise me if Etienne ends up being RB1 on their board.
Yeah. At this point, it's kind of like expecting, especially our tackle hopes are basically dead in the first round. So it's either
there's going to be like 6 taken before us.
I'm basically just going to think running back, probably, or best player available. I mean, based off need, I guess. Like, if one of the corners or an edge or linebacker.
I'm glad that you said that, because everybody talks about like the BPA approach, and I've brought it up too, but they always like fail to, and I'm guilty of this too, to mention it's like best player available, but it has to be within like a certain limit, like, of what your needs are. Like, if the best player available is a safety, like, well, I mentioned that we met with Trevon Moehrig or whatever from TCU a couple times. So
yeah,
but I don't see them going that route. But anyway, like, it's best player available, but it also has to fit a need for the Steelers.
Yeah, like if they want to take like a top corner or a top edge guy, top linebacker. I'm fine with either of those. It doesn't even matter. I mean,
Actually, if we were doing best player available for this, we would have taken Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, true. Which no need for that.
No, but
and
man,
even I've seen a couple mock drafts where they like take Creed Humphrey way early, and I'm like, that's not necessarily the route that I would go. But I mean, if that's your guy and you want to shore up that center position, then I guess go for it.
They have been known to like address interior earlier than pretty much any other team in the league as well. Like they prioritize center more than any other team.
Yeah, so
and I get it. Like we have a history of just great centers in franchise history. So
yeah, if that's what you want to do, then by all means go for it. I would rather take Creed Humphrey at 24 than Mac Jones. So, although Mac Jones isn't going to be there, but
yeah,
thank goodness for that because I
think he goes top 15.
Yeah,
and that's like the bottom. I think he bottoms out at 15. Like I could see him. I could see him going top 10.
Do you think
not necessarily by a team that's in one of those spots right now?
Do you think he gets taken before any of the top 4 quarterbacks?
The only one that I could see would be Lance, right? I mean, and it's just because of his limited play and pretty much just banking on completely upside and the physical tools.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a case where he goes higher. Well, he's not going higher. Everybody knows Lawrence is number 1. So it's like, is he going to go higher than Wilson or Fields? I think that's no. I could see a case where he goes higher than Lance, but if you're putting me on the spot, asking me to make a prediction, no.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think he goes as QB5 in this draft.
With the way that the NFL is going, I just can't justify taking a guy like Mac Jones over any of the first 4 quarterbacks.
I will say though, like with the offseason that New England has had, and not that I love the money that they're throwing around or anything, but like they're getting like good players. I just don't love the value of them. Like that's a situation where Mac Jones might be able to go in and succeed, but like, are they committed to Cam Newton? We don't know. Like, are they building this for Cam Newton or are they building it for Mac Jones or somebody else? My nightmare scenario is they trade up for Justin Fields or Trey Lance.
If you ask me, my opinion with Cam Newton, at least, I think that he's more so just a stopgap quarterback. He's kind of like filling the gap. They're not going to build around him for the future. They're just trying to find their quarterback of the future while he's their quarterback for now. But yeah, I think this is I would say at least the first pick is our most realistic one so far.
I mean, as a whole, I think it still turned out pretty well, though. Like, even doing running back first, I'm still not upset with the way that things played out for us. Like, we got one of my favorite players. Yeah.
I think that we did draft it pretty realistic. Like, we didn't – there's multiple times where we could have taken, like, a wide receiver that we liked earlier, but we didn't because we re-signed Juju. Building for Lance or Fields to establish another dynasty. I hope not.
Patriot way.
The Patriot way is going to be drafting Dax Milne, and he's going to be a little all-star. But I think that this draft was pretty good. I'd be happy with this draft if this is the way that it was shaken out. But I think the fact that we didn't take tackle where we would have normally before this past week, we didn't take wide receiver where we normally would have. We drafted more realistically than we have in the past weeks. But then again, we didn't know who was going to be on the team, who was going to be resigned, and until like a week and a half ago, weren't for sure which picks we were even going to have until the comp picks were given out. So now we know what picks we're going to have. We know who's going to be on the team. So I think we can draft better from here on out until the draft night.
Yeah. I just hope that we get some of these right. It's going to be fun to go back and look and see. But do you have anything else?
Nope. That's about it.
Penguin show tomorrow night.
Yep. I'll be at the game on Wednesday. So I'll be there with my mom. It'll be her first game in like 13 or 14 months. Or no, since December of 2019. So like 15 months actually.
Okay. Well, then if that's the case, we will see you guys, whoever wants to tune in for the Penn show tomorrow night. If you are just strictly a mock draft Mondays person, we'll see you next week. Do another one of these. Like Tyler said, I think from here on out, we can do them more realistic. You know, we know where the picks are slotted. we know at least by next week. I mean, we could see them officially move on from Steven Nelson. So that could change things too.
We could take
maybe.
corner round 1. Who knows?
Yeah. Just going to depend on the way things play out. But it's going to be interesting to see how these progress and, what our final one ends up looking like.
And then we have our draft event for the first night.
Yeah, still working to finalize some stuff with that. I would imagine we're going to have some people coming on, which is going to be cool. So, but yeah, some collaborations. Other than that, it's been Smitty. It's been Tyler. This has been Mock Draft Monday. As always, part of AllSteelers.com and presented by Crowworthy and sponsored by Keats Barbershop, Bench Clears, and Viget. Until next time, we'll talk to you. Bye-bye.